This is an interesting camera that I discovered recently. It's a box camera, and initially it has no identification on it. There's nothing on the front here, and it's a tiny bit different to a lot of box cameras, as I was to and it begins with just trying to open it. You open it here, not from the back. And my first surprise was it's 2 1/4, where most box cameras are 6 by 9. Now, thankfully, I've got some identification here. It says number 1 Maxim, and it also says takes number 2 1/4 enzyme or number 1 brownie film. Now, I assume this was a similar film. Well, I've put 120 in and it worked. I was a bit mystified because I thought 120 film, if this camera was the date I thought it was, which is about, I think this camera is about 1914 to 1920. I could be wrong on that. I think it could be earlier. But at this stage, the way the film was marked out, you got 8 images. It wasn't marked out to get 12, and somehow he could get 12. So I was a bit perplexed by this. And it says at the bottom here, W. Butcher and Son, made by W. Butcher and Sons. Now, W. Butcher and Sons became Houghton and Butcher, and they produced the Enzyme camera. But this is before that amalgamation. So, the guidance was this camera was produced between 1901 and 1920. So, let's just look how you load the film to begin with. I thought this was quite ingenious. If you can see that. This actually pulls out. So the spool, you've got plenty of space there, and then you can put the spool in and it just slots in. And the film comes over. You've got this bit of cardboard here as a plate for the back of the film, and then, spool in here, over, through the little card, and to the take-up spool here. And then it goes back in the camera, making sure the cardboard bit is at the back. And then it slots in here and here. Viewfinder is here. Because it's square, you don't need 2 viewfinders. If you think of normal box cameras, you've got portrait and landscape. Normal box cameras, you've got portrait and landscape. Here, you've just got the square viewfinder. Wind on here. The shutter this camera keeps confusing me because you've got the viewfinder here and you've got the shutter here, and you have the handle here. So it's all a bit upside down. Normally you have the shutter and the viewfinder at the top, so everything's at the top. Here you've got this here, the handle, and the viewfinder down here. So when you use it like that and click. Now, as you can hear, it's a bit intermittent. You've also got this control here, which is I and B. I is the shutter, B, the shutter remains open. You see that? And then closed. Open, close. There's no aperture control. There's nothing else. It's a very basic camera. I wonder if I will get anything from it. This camera could be 120 years old, and yet it produced some reasonable results. I did have problems with the shutter. Sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. and the viewfinder was extremely misty and hazy, and I couldn't really see what I was taking a photograph of. I tried to be clever here, framing Corfe Castle between two roofs of two houses, but it didn't particularly work. Having said that, 4 of the images were recognisable as images. They were sharp, and you could see how this camera in its day was probably a very reliable and quite good little box camera. And for it still to be producing some images, 100 years later, this was taken through a doorway, and it's the door framing the signal box at Corfe. Again, good contrast, relatively sharp in that we can read the name Corfe. I was nicely surprised by this slightly unusual box camera. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.